The day-to-day running of the empire was entrusted to a group of superior officers belonging to one All India Service. The Indian Civil Service, ICS, was the center of all authority, power, and initiative. No service in any other country, regime, or age has enjoyed such high prestige and such uncommon privileges. It was one of the glories of British rule in India, and it kept the imperial jewel in a state of burnished splendor. At first sight, the ICS seems to have been a most un-English institution. It was accountable to no democratic machinery, it had unlimited power, and it made the official policy in name as well as in fact. The deputy commissioner was unknown to the English system of government and administration. Yet the British devised for India a system with which they themselves were completely unfamiliar. In thus rebelling against their own genius, they showed courage and imagination. This is one way of looking at the genesis of the ICS, but a closer scrutiny of the origin produces a different picture. Innovation is a mark of pragmatism, and English tradition was nothing if not pragmatic. To meet new situations by new solutions, to let the axe fall where the disease is, to let problems think out their own answers. This is the injunction of pragmatism. The ICS was a child of this philosophy, however un-English it might look on the surface. The possession of India posed new problems. A people so different in race, religion, and tradition could not be ruled by the well-tried English methods. The Indians were like Plato's perpetual children, whose development had frozen at a certain stage, and who called for guidance and unceasing care. They needed guardians to bring them nearer to the general good through disinterested, efficient service. The makers of imperial policy remembered their classical education when they came to wrestle with the problem of Indian administration. It was a unique opportunity to put Plato to the test. Let the Indians of the common clay be ruled by men of uncommon composition, and let the result speak for itself. It is neither mere fancy nor self-glory which has led Mr. Philip Woodruff, a distinguished historian of a distinguished service, to give to the ICS men the Platonic designation of guardians. In Plato's ideal state, the guardians were to constitute a separate caste, the highest in the hierarchy of functional groups. In Hindu India, there was already a rigid caste system with the Brahman as its roof and crown. The British made but one change in this arrangement. They added another caste to the Hindu social structure, one higher than even the all-high Brahman. The new white Brahmins proved good caste men. They were cut off from the commonality. They lived and had their being in isolated splendor. All their material needs were amply fulfilled by the state, so that they could devote their life to the good of the common folk. They enjoyed unheard-of privileges, so that the line dividing them from the rest was clear to see. And they were recruited from the best in intellectual and moral training, so that their ranks were not tainted by incompetence or improbity. This unusual product of English pragmatism and Greek idealism was based on the principle of trust in general capacity. Specialization was suspect. No special training was needed to become a guardian. Experts were mere technicians who knew more and more about less and less. Their narrow training and circumscribed knowledge did not tell them what the general good was. They had a place in the administrative machinery, but they served under the guardians on specific jobs where their technical skill could be put to use. The English members of the ICS were much better educated than their Indian colleagues. The quality of English university education, with its emphasis on the classics, was no match for what the Indian colleges and universities had to offer. It is true that several Indians entered the service after taking an English degree, but they read easier subjects. Their background was weak, and few of them proved outstanding students. Besides, the Englishman in India was living in a new world which excited him. The novelty of the experience and his personal involvement in it were incentives to reflection and writing. To the Indian, India was a familiar, sometimes too familiar country, and it astonished and puzzled him to find that the foreigner could discover so much charm in a thing which had begun to pall on his own languid mind. The classical education which the English ICS men had received also taught them to be curious and to go behind the obvious to find out things for themselves. The Indians might also have been inhibited by two other factors: their imperfect command of any language in which they could express themselves. There was no Indian language apart from provincial or regional languages, and their mute, impotent resentment against foreign domination slowly degenerating into a crippling inferiority complex. Author's footnote: It must be confessed that till very recently this state of affairs obtained in Pakistan, where the members of the civil service of Pakistan enjoyed immense powers without any accountability to anyone, had unheard of privileges, and believed that they constituted a heavenly elite. In ability and efficiency, however, they do not come anywhere near the ICS.